Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? It's Geoff, Mosher, Adam Caplan, and we've got a huge playoff implication game to preview on this podcast. Obviously, the Eagles on Sunday travel down to FedEx Field to face the Washington football team. Ordinarily, it would be for the second time in 3 weeks, but it's actually a little bit sooner than that since they played on a Tuesday night. So it's the second time in 13 days. Is that what it is? Or
12, actually.
Well,
it would be
man,
Tuesday
crazy.
night to Sunday. Yeah.
It's like we just did this, didn't we? So, but a lot's happened for both teams since that.
3 games in 12 days. Yeah, 3 games in 12 days for both teams.
Yeah, well, that can take a lot out of any team, but both teams are under the same circumstances. Of course, Washington this time at home and not dealing with the COVID situation nearly as badly as they were when the Eagles and Washington football team first met. So we'll get all into that. We'll kind of break down what the playoff implications look like because it's not as clear as I thought it was. Adam and I had to spend some time here before doing the podcast, just making sure our T's were crossed and our I's were dotted to really understand what it takes for the Eagles to make the playoffs. So there's a lot to get into with that. Of course, we've got everything covered on our website, InsideTheBirds.com. Make sure you're checking that out for the coverage. We just recently did an Ask ITB. We answered some really good questions. And it's up on our podcast and YouTube platforms. Adam, we got probably some of the best questions ever in this latest Ask ITB. So I encourage everybody to check that out and listen to what we had to say. And, of course, our pregame show on Sunday from 10 a.m. till noon. That'll be on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The replay will be up right on our podcast platform right after the game. And then, Adam and I will have a watch party as well, starting at kickoff right after our pregame show. So we'll be there. You can come see us, say hello. We'll give away some prizes. All the details on that are on our Twitter accounts at Inside Birds. You want to follow to get all the information on the Sunday festivities. Adam, after last year, after the 4-11 in 1 year and knowing that there was zero chance of making the playoffs, I find this game pretty cool. Just to cover it. I mean, there's something on the line here. The Eagles are playing meaningful football. So while we straddle that line between whether it's an evaluation year and transition year or a competition year, as you have said many times, you can do both, and you're getting both this year. And that's what makes this weekend cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Look, when we gave our season predictions, I said 7 to 8 wins is my win range. I do this for all the teams. And I thought that was reasonable. It looked like when they were struggling in the middle of the season, I'm like, all right, well, not looking good for this. Mm-hmm. And then their schedule eased up, which we knew the second half of the season, the schedule will be easier. And decent to good teams are going to beat, for the most of the time, not always, but most of the time, they're going to beat inferior teams. And that's what they've done. They should. They don't always in the NFL. We know that. But they haven't stubbed their toe, except against the Giants. They got off to the terrible start against the Jets, and then they blitzed them. They scored like crazy.
Yeah.
They've got this crazy schedule, 3 games in 12 days. And don't forget, one thing I did want to mention, what I think helps the Eagles is they've not flown since Saturday, November 13th, when they flew to Denver for that game where they blew out the Broncos, which was very impressive. So this team's been very resilient. Talking to some agents the last couple weeks, these players, and I heard this weeks ago, and sometimes I'm not sure what this means, but it's definitely true. The players really like Sirianni. They've totally bought in. Well, we would make fun of him at his press conferences, and a lot of people did, and he got skewered in the social media for his opening press conference when he got the job, and some of the things that he said, players didn't care. They totally bought in. Mm-hmm. And that is why they've hung in there after the struggles, particularly defensive coordinator. And they've turned the season around, and as you said, very well. Look, they're playing for something big on Sunday. There's a real scenario, which we'll go over in a couple of minutes, that they clinch it. And quite frankly, to the point where I wonder if this happens, if it goes their way, what do they do in Week 18? That's another story for another time, but that would be a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Now, Quentin Michael in the Q&A show, which dropped on our podcast platform, YouTube show, 6 a.m., talked about what you had said about the idea of not having to get in an airplane. He said he loved as a player the games at Washington because the travel was so easy. You just hop on a train and you take a bus to wherever, and you're there and you're good to go. And so there is validity to that. Does it make you play better? No, but it puts you in a better mindset. It's, the big guys, the big linemen, they don't feel all crunched up on a flight somewhere out west. So that's always good. So that was a good part of the good nugget in the latest Q&A that I thought was really interesting, because I've heard mixed things about how much that really helps or doesn't help getting on the plane or not. So it was really good to hear. Interesting to hear Quentin Michael's take on that. I think Jason also said he liked it too. And they also had some really interesting observations on the game against the Giants and on Jalen Hurts and on the drops and Dallas Goedert. So really worth listening to the Q&A show, as it is every week. So we got a lot to get into. We will start off with transactions and injuries. We'll then take a look at the playoff implications. I was under the impression falsely that the Eagles were in a win and in scenario, meaning all they had to do was beat Washington to get into the playoffs. But when we went back and looked at the list and realized that that's not necessarily the case, so we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll break down the game as well, getting through the offense and defense versus each other. So looking forward to doing all that in this podcast. Now, we always tell you about our friends at Deal Dash. You've got to get on Deal Dash. It's an online shopping platform. But this is fun. It's not like, other platforms where you're sitting there trying to figure out what you want to spend too much money on. This one, Deal Dash, is the longest running penny auction website and app around. So you can actually get stuff for just mere pennies if you can just outlast everybody else trying to get stuff for mere pennies. All right. So if that sounds too good to be true, I can understand, because we've seen a car go for $900, a brand new TV for less than $2. Imagine getting a brand new TV for less than $2. Amazing, right? Don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for the things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the Deal Dash app. And when you register, use that promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. That's right. Imagine winning something on Deal Dash because you used bonus free bids with the ITB code. You never even spent any money. You got bonus free bids. It's great. It's like winning with house money there. So we always recommend you getting onto Deal Dash and using that ITB promo code. All right, so why don't we first start off with some of the noteworthy transactions, Adam? And remember, at the time we record this versus the time people listen to this, the COVID-19 list changes every single day. So pardon us if by the time you listen to this, somebody's on.
It won't. We're taping this shortly before 6 a.m. Eastern on Friday, so nothing's going to happen, barring a miracle. Like one of the rare times we had to tape early, so we don't, as Geoff said, while we were taping these transactions, we don't like taping them at 5 Eastern, and when the transactions come out, we do them late at night or early in the morning.
Right.
So anyway, so I just wanted to go over what happened on Monday, because the league updated as we did the show on Monday, and then we were doing this. We did one Wednesday. Now we're doing one Friday. Mm-hmm. They've updated the protocols, and what I don't understand is, like, the Eagles placed Barnett, who's not taken off the list, Teron Johnson, Shashiri, right? It's Shashiri, right?
It's actually Chachere.
Chachere, goddamn.
Chachere, yes.
Chachere, Andre Chachere, Teron Jackson, Noah Togiai on the COVID list on Monday. So Wednesday, Jackson came off of it, along with Kerrigan,
right,
LaRaven, Clark, and Dillard. So how in the world could a guy come off in 2 days when they changed it from 10 days to 5 days for all players?
There's still the same rule of, can you produce negative tests in a back-to-back 24-hour span? So he must have tested positive on Monday, but then tested negative on Tuesday and negative on Wednesday.
Okay.
Is that okay. I mean, that's the only way it could have happened.
That sounds the only way I could understand it, because they updated them twice in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
The latest one, when I got the memo, it just seemed kind of confusing to me. So, that's what happened on Monday. Because obviously when you see it on Monday, you're like, oh, man, hopefully I don't have a breakout. And then Hightower went on the practice squad COVID list. He's still on it. Mm-hmm. We knew that as we were doing the show on Tuesday, late evening, they signed Kerryon Johnson. They brought him back. They re-signed Luke Juriga to the practice squad. Huntley was protected. You knew that was going to happen because of the situation they have at running back. Owushika, the undrafted rookie who they like. Now, this one's interesting, and I'm going to explain why Jacoby Stevens was protected. This is when teams start poaching practice squad players off of other teams' practice squad lists, because they want to evaluate them. What they're going to do is they're going to sign them off. If you're out of the playoff race, you're going to start rating practice squads. The this has been a practice that teams have done in weeks 15, 16, 17, when we had an 18-week season, 17-week season. Now we have an 18-week. So the Eagles smartly protected Stevens. He would have been the perfect guy to sign and maybe play in week 18. Let him just play if you're a bad team. That's it, like the Jaguars, someone who's out of it. But they protected him. They protected that. Mac McCain, who's a corner, who's got some length, and they like to take a look at in the spring.
Yep.
So I see why they did that with Stevens, because there'd be no other reason to do it.
Right. Yeah, obviously Stevens, the rookie from LSU, been on the practice squad all year long, plays that kind of hybrid linebacker safety spot, right? He was a safety, and they turned him into a linebacker. We've talked about Jonathan Gannon having his type of guys, and I imagine he had some input on that draft. So you would understand why they would want to kind of hang on to him and groom him, especially since linebacker is not a spot where they're teaming with lots of young talent. So that was an interesting remark. I was just thinking, Adam, but this can't be the case, because I don't know if they test guys after. Guys get tested the day of a game and then get results later after a game. I'm wondering if it's possible that Teron Jackson tested positive on Sunday, actually, but we only found out about it Monday because the league office is closed.
Yeah,
Sunday.
that's a good point. Yeah, that is true. Well, that technically, based on what you say, it is true, because they don't put out a personnel notice on Sunday.
Right.
And teams, the Eagles are, they're pretty good about it, getting the information out. They don't send emails anymore. They just put it on Twitter, which is fine.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, but again, Jackson was activated, and that's good. So that he's going to be able to play. Kerrigan was activated. They need him. Mm-hmm. If Barnett does not get activated by Sunday, now what happens is teams are testing players on Sunday who they want to get off. So what they did with the Chiefs did with Travis Kelce is they actually activated him on Saturday because he was close. His levels were close to 35. The number's 35. He's got to reach it. That's the minimum level to be able to be activated. He tested him Sunday morning and he didn't pass. He didn't test out, so he unfortunately couldn't play. But he's going to play this week, barring a setback. Then the big one. Now I say big one. This is good for special teams. Sean Bradley was activated off the COVID list on Thursday afternoon. He was able to practice, so they're going to have him for special teams. That's important for coverage. Mm-hmm. So right now it's Derek Barnett, it's Togiai, and it's Hightower on the practice squad. So one guy on the 50th who would be on the 50th and through two practice squad players.
Right. Huntley is one of the protected. I guess we'll know by 4 o'clock, right?
Shashiri, right?
Right. Shashiri too. Yeah.
Yes.
Sashiri, actually. You're lulling me back into my Shashiri.
Was he in the 53?
Yeah, he was on the 53.
Okay.
He plays on special teams a lot.
I thought so.
Huntley should probably be elevated, you would think, by 4 o'clock today, Friday, if they plan to use him, which I have.
Well, actually, they have till Saturday. They actually have till Saturday.
Right, 4 o'clock Saturday. You're right.
Yes. And they will have one play. Actually, they don't have to use an elevation for him. They have a free one for COVID. You get one per player, as they call them. There's a term. It's like an elevation for COVID reasons. Right. There's a term for it. I forget what it says.
So it doesn't have to be position for position then?
I don't think so. I think they just get like you get by number. So I think they'll be able to bring up 2.
Gotcha.
So obviously for special teams they could do 1, but I would expect that, being that Jordan Howard, even if he's cleared to play, you don't know how healthy he'll be. Mm-hmm. Miles Sanders is out. Gainwell, by the way, okay, as we get through the injury report here, and we'll get to Washington in a second in transactions. Yep. Gainwell surprisingly showed up on the injury report. He's going to play. He took a full practice on Thursday, but we didn't know about that one.
Correct.
It was a pop-up.
It was an ankle, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah.
Right. So, man, 3 out of their 4 backs have injuries. So obviously,
he was a full participant, though.
Yes, but that doesn't mean he can. Like, he's got an injury, and Howard's is worse off with the shoulder issue. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to add at least 1, if not 2, running backs. So right now, Huntley's got to be added. He has to be on the roster. They don't have a choice. And the question with Kerryon Johnson, because I know talking to Lions last year, they said he was one of the best pass blocking backs they've ever had. So he can do that in his sleep. Now I don't know about his knee, right, where he's at with that issue that he's had for a couple of years now, which he didn't look good when the Eagles had him. So hopefully he's okay. So that he may have to dress. So we'll know. Obviously, we'll have a lot of information for Sunday. I know we've got pretty good sourcing on this, so we'll have some more stuff. You had some interesting stuff on Jordan Howard's shoulder, not just the stinger. Although they I guess Sirianni downplayed it. It's not related to last 2 years ago. But you know what? Maybe I remember covering this. Some players have had issues with stingers over their career. Not serious, although Howard's was serious 2 years ago. But some guys have recurring stinger issues. I don't know why that happens. We know a minimum he's had 2 of them, but this is something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. We've also talked about Jalen Hurts and the ankle. He has not been running as much lately. He only ran 2 times for 7 yards against
Those were not designed.
the Giants, and they were not designed runs. Well, anytime 7 yards, yeah, definitely not. And then those were his lowest number of carries and yards as an Eagle, as a pro. So
is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So normally, well, as a pro in a start, he was coming in last year in certain games, and as a gadget player.
Wow, that's telling.
I mean, it's not even close, to be honest with you. I think his previous low before that was like 40 yards. So from 43 to 7 is quite a drop off. So you would think that if he's healthy enough, they would want to re-add the read option game and the quarterback design run game because of no Miles Sanders and a banged up Jordan Howard. But if they don't feel like he's 100% still, then they may not be able to do that. So that's going to be a big part of the game plan. I mean, that should factor into the game plan.
We'll look into it, but it sounded like, based on what Sirianni said, he kind of loosely admitted that that's why they didn't design runs previously. Because remember, 2 games in 5 days with very little practice time for Hurts. In the first game, the Washington game, for sure, he barely practiced. So, he took all the ones on Thursday, so that tells you he's in a lot better shape. I definitely think he'll run more. Herbig, the light knee sprain, he's fine. He worked full on Thursday. That's a good thing. So right now it's Sanders who's out, Barnett on the COVID list, and Sasha Ray who's on the COVID list. Big one's Barnett. They need him. They have some depth. It's not great. Kerrigan's not the same player he once was. Obviously, he's being used in a different role here. And Teron Jackson, who's been a nice story for them, but you don't want him playing 40 snaps. I think it's a lot to ask, though the matchup isn't bad because Washington, once again, we'll get to it. They had a couple COVID pop-ups on Thursday. Jeez.
Yeah, and Nate Herbig sounds like he'll be good to go there.
Yeah. Yep.
At right guard. The whole Brandon Brooks thing remains a mystery. Not much other to say that other than it's a mystery. I did hear from someone I asked someone who played the game about pectoral injuries, and this person told me that a pectoral a full tear could linger on a long time, way past the 6 to 8 week.
Oh, that's a 4 month. Yeah, that's a 4 month. Now, see, Lane Johnson told the media months ago, that it was a partial tear.
Yeah, well, maybe something happened, or maybe it was worse than Lane even realized.
I don't know, but here's my problem. Sirianni's been one of the better coaches of updating injuries for the media.
Right.
If it's related to the bacterial issue, what is he hiding? What's there to hide?
Right.
He's not.
Right.
He's not ready.
Just say it's still a pec injury. It's just not ready, or there's something he's kind of been just no update.
I'm not going to speculate. I don't know. We almost get it. We usually find out all this stuff, but I'm a little bit. I don't know. I'm hoping everything's okay.
Yeah. A little perplexing there. All right, let's get into the.
But they're doing well without him.
They certainly have been. They have been. Washington's injuries and COVID issues.
Okay.
We know that their running back McKissick has been on IR. He's on IR.
He's done he's done. He's not coming back. Yeah,
right. He's not coming back.
Yeah, not this year. Yeah.
The offensive line has taken a little bit of a hit. Schweitzer, their guard, has got he's out with the ankle injury. Yeah,
Schweitzer was backing up at center. He's on IR. He won't return. And they got bad news on Thursday. Sam Cosme, who got pressed into service, coming off of an ankle injury, he went on the COVID list. It's never for years. If you'd see an illness, you go, "Oh, it's probably a cold, or maybe it's a little flu bug. He'll be back in a day." Nope, not anymore. He tested positive, so he's back on the COVID list. He went on Thursday. Then they got really bad news. In fact, they don't have a backup punter. Tress Way, their outstanding punter, went on the COVID list Thursday.
Right.
So unless these guys test out, they got an issue at right tackle again. They need a punter. They did get some good news this week. Brandon Sheriff's back at guard. Tyler Larson, their number 2 center. If he's feeling healthy enough or has his strength back, he'll start. And then Cole Holcomb, who's one of their starting linebackers, is back. So but then again, they look like they were going to get everyone off, but not anymore. Cosme and Way, as I said. And then here's more bad news for them. So Darryl Roberts, who was starting at corner for William Jackson, almost certainly won't play with his calf injury, their best corner. He's missed 5 straight practices with his calf strain. Darryl Roberts tested positive, so he's on the COVID list. Almost all these are testing positive. Very few close contacts anymore. So anyway, he's on the COVID list. So Roberts theoretically won't be playing on Sunday, barring something unforeseen. So they're going to have to start that Danny Jackson, the Jackson kid, who 1 year was their nickel corner. He's okay, but they don't want him playing. They don't want him They don't want him playing that much. And your guy Troy Apke from Penn State, who's incredibly fast. He was a safety. Now they moved him to corner because he runs in the 4.3s, 4.4s. He may have to play corner. They're in trouble here. And if the weather holds up, the forecast is 30% or so rain. If the forecast holds up, when the Eagles throw it, they should definitely have success.
They should. They should. This is a banged-up Washington secondary. Now, we can't, just like with the Eagles, the whole Cosme and Tress Way, the punter, these guys might be back in a day or two. So
true. I know.
So it's just a big uncertainty. We'll see what happens with them. Heineke, we know, has came out with a knee. Sounds like he's going to be okay. Although Ron Rivera has said some strange things about maybe playing Kyle Allen in this game. Don't know what that's all about, but we will find out. Antonio Gibson, who's been playing hurt all year long.
This is bad.
This is bad.
This is a new one. This is his 5th injury this season. The toe's off the injury report, but hip is new. He came out of it in the last game. He worked limited Wednesday. Remember, they're on a modified week. They got in early Monday morning, so he did work. Whatever, they probably had a walkthrough on Wednesday, but he didn't work Thursday. So we'll see what he does later today. If he doesn't play, it's going to be Jared Patterson, who I love, the undrafted rookie out of Buffalo. And Jonathan Williams has been with a lot of teams. And old friend,
Wendell
Smallwood. Good call, yes.
Mr. Wendell.
Guy won't go away. Good for him. He's still trying to play. He was on the COVID list earlier, but so they'd have to have a committee, and this would obviously play great for the Eagles because Gibson's really been coming on. He's scoring a lot of touchdowns, getting checkdowns. Though Heineke being back now, we'll get into the matchup, but he's a fun guy to watch. He can make life miserable for the Buccaneers, man. He's played great against Tampa, of all things. I don't know what it is, but he's played great against them.
Yes, he has, and we'll see what. I have a feeling he's the type of guy that when he hears the head coach say that they're going to, potentially look at the backup, he's like, oh, okay. All right. It's like that. Okay. All right. So we'll see if that either, forces him to press or that forces him to go out there and complete his first 20 passes of the game and see what kind of Taylor Heineke that we get. Big, again, we talked about their secondary. William Jackson, their best cornerback, did not practice because of the calf. So we'll see what happens with him.
That's 5 straight. As I said earlier, it's 5 straight practices. It's unlikely he'll play with a calf strain. If you haven't practiced for 5 straight days with a calf strain, you would have to make incredible progress, and that'll kill them because with the other kid, Darryl Roberts, who I remember for the Jets, he's a journeyman. They just don't have any depth anymore at corner.
Definitely.
So, we're going to be looking at this forecast. Mr. Weather's back, by the way. I'll be giving an update during the.
What was my nickname for you? Tropical Storm Caplan? That's what I called you. All right.
Cosell loved that.
Caplan is back.
He loves picking on me. See, Greg and I have this thing where I get a little harder on him than he does on me. Because I know some inside stuff on him. For Jaws and I used to pick on him really hard when we watched tape together. He has certain idiosyncrasies that I find funny as hell. And he denies all of it, by the way, but it's all true. It's funny to pick on him, so we'll do that.
Sounds like a good future podcast in the office.
Yes, I do. I know. Next time he's on, we got to pick on him. And then one of my favorite names of all time might have to play a lot. He played for Ron Rivera in Carolina. That's Corn Elder, who you might remember him from the Panthers. One of my Corn. I've never known anyone by the name of Corn, but he might have to play on Sunday.
You ever had corn whiskey, Adam?
Ew,
Georgia corn whiskey?
No.
Did a little of that in college. Not fun.
Mad Dog 2020 was my thing in college.
That was not funny either.
Disgusting.
All right. If you guys want to get an advantage over your sportsbook, please download BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads to over-unders and player prop bets. And if you don't want to use the model and prefer to do the research yourself, well, BetQL has the necessary tools for your betting research needs. They've got everything from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even the leaderboards to track your success. So head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also go to the website try.betql.co/ITB to get started now. Just enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout for 25% off their subscription offerings. They've also got this sportsbook offers page. It's if you live in one of the eligible states where you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, let's talk about this Washington offense against the Philadelphia.
Wait, you want to do the scenarios real quick?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. Playoff scenarios. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. So they were, in fact, the league updated them. They sent out 2 updates. They do this every year just to make it even clearer for people.
Yes.
So for the Eagles to clinch on Sunday a wild card berth, a minimum of the 7th seed, the highest they could do is the 6th, but they would need a lot of help. If they win, the Vikings lose or tie. I hate these tying scenarios. I'm not even going to say tie anymore. I'm just going to say if the Eagles win, the Vikings lose, and the Saints lose, they're in. Or the Eagles win, the Vikings lose, and the Niners win. Because that would eliminate Washington, Minnesota, and Saints getting one of those spots. They would eliminate them from the 6th spot.
Right.
And that would get the Eagles in. So, again, who you be rooting for? You want Eagle fans want the Vikings to lose and the Saints to lose, and they're in. That's what they want. That's the most likely. Well, actually, I shouldn't say likely. The most likely one is the Eagles to win, obviously. Mm-hmm. Well, if you want them, it's not likely. Wait till we get into that matchup. I'm nervous. I would be nervous. Not that I'm a fan, but I every time I think the Eagles are going to make it easy on us, they don't. But the Vikings obviously losing at Green Bay. Now, they did beat them earlier, but this is unreal. Sunday night, temperatures 2 to 5 degrees. 2 to 5 degrees. Thin digits.
That's some Eli Manning-esque winning in Green Bay type of Tom Coughlin with the red cheeks.
With the red face.
I honestly don't know why. Maybe I'm a softie. I don't know. Yeah. But I can't imagine that it's fun for the fan to sit in that kind of weather and watch a game. I mean, it's really not safe, to be honest with you. It's not safe to be.
I hear you.
Like that. I mean, hypothermia, frozen digits, everything.
Well, so I've never been there. Weren't you and Ruben Frank there at Lambeau together? Didn't you guys talk about this?
I've been to Lambeau for a game at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, what's it like?
Beautiful, unbelievable, great. Awesome. My favorite experience ever. I mean, it's great. Oh. It's amazing. I've been fortunate though. Every time I've been there, only one time was in the winter. It was December though. It wasn't that bad. It was early December. So it was cold, but it wasn't like -10. Now I've been to Minnesota a couple of times where it was -10.
I was in that game in 2009. That was not good when the Eagles was that a playoff game when they played at Minnesota? They won
2009? Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, no, 2008. Yes, it was. It was the 2008 season, but 2009 playoff, right?
Okay.
Right.
It was terrible in Minnesota. It was, and that was at the old place. It was at the old place, right? Yeah.
It was still at the what was the name of it? The Metrodome. Thank you, the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
Terrible.
It was everything. Look, it's so cold there that it's hard to think. To be honest.
Well, you know what I did? The wind was so bad. I don't think I've ever done this before. So I couldn't find the right would pick up my credential. So what I would do is I just, to get out of the cold, I would go in a door, warm up, go outside, walk into another door. It took me 15 minutes to get to the right door, but the wind was so strong. Mm-hmm. If it didn't blow you down, knock you over,
yep.
It was so cold in my face. I couldn't take the cold, and cold does not bother me.
Yeah,
But wind and cold
I don't mind. You're right. The wind is worse. The wind is worse. But cold when it's minus anything is bad. It's just not fun.
Yeah. But I am envious of Green Bay, man. I got to do it. Man.
Awesome. You've never been to Lambeau?
No, that's what I said. I've never been to Green Bay, man.
It's special.
I'm dying.
It's so special.
I know.
All right, so those were the playoff scenarios there. I don't know why something made me think that if the Eagles just win no matter what they're in, but obviously that's not the case. So everybody will be a big fan of who's the Packers, right? That are as we just mentioned that are playing Minnesota.
Yeah, that's so you really the easiest one for the Eagles to get. Not that any of it's easy. Is the Eagles to win, Minnesota to lose, which almost certainly will happen.
Right.
Because Green Bay wants to sew up, the number one seed. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they need to get the number one seed, they have to win and Dallas has to lose, and they get it.
Right. All
So,
right. Good stuff. We will get into the Washington offense versus the Eagle offense first. We'll start off with that, right? Okay. Eagle offense first, or no, sure. Whatever you want to do.
Let's do Washington. Okay. Let's do it with Washington, only because I've asked a lot of people this week that I respect have watched Washington, what they think of Heinicke, and everybody loves his moxie and his toughness, his athleticism. He's a gambler. He doesn't throw a high number of picks, but he will give you a chance for deflections. Mm-hmm. He's a super aggressive thrower. He does not like checking the ball down. Right. He's got really quick feet. He's right in the 4.6s. He's beat up physically, but he's tough as hell. He got knocked around. He took a shot. I can't believe he's not listed on the injury report with a chest injury. He got drilled in the chest against Dallas when Dallas just annihilated him and both sides of the football. But he's aggressive, and the problem that they have, though, even if Gibson plays, they lack really quality good pass targets. Other than McLaurin, Humphrey's in an okay slot. Cam Sims doesn't run well, but he's a big target. Mm-hmm. Curtis Samuel's been an absolute disappointment. From missing 3 months for a groin injury and then coming back and then getting a hamstring.
Yeah.
Antonio Gandy-Golden doesn't play. He was a fourth rounder last year out of Liberty. And De'Ami Brown has been disappointing. He had a knee injury earlier this season.
He started off, I think his first few games at him, he was making a few plays, De'Ami Brown. And then like you said, the knee injury happened, and then he just hasn't been the same.
Doesn't play at all. Although he had a great catch in the Dallas game, an awesome bomb.
Right.
I don't know if it was Kyle Allen or not because Heinicke was pulled. But anyway, he made a great adjustment, a great catch. But so listen, this guy is aggressive. Mm-hmm. The Eagles better be ready. I'm really fascinated. The reason why I want to start on the side of the ball is I'm really interested to see, because remember now, we should mention, Heinicke did not play in the last game. Garrett Gilbert did against the Eagles less than 2 weeks ago. So I do wonder how Gannon will play him this week.
Yep, I'm guessing not overly aggressively, but we'll see. Maybe he will. What I like about Heinicke's game is the second reaction element to it. Kind of like we talk about Jalen Hurts at those times when you get stuck in the pocket where the coverage is there and you just don't know what to do. He does a good job of keeping the play alive. Now he's not nearly as dynamic as Jalen Hurts, but he has just watching him a very innate sense of how to duck through some traffic and then square up and make a throw. And then sometimes we won't even be squared up. He'll do like a little far flip or sidearm action kind of thing. But that's an innateness that you just can tell is not coached. It's just part of what makes him him. Ryan Fitzpatrick has his own Fitzmagic, but Heinicke has his own little way of kind of dancing around the bullets there and making a play. So that's obviously a lot of quarterbacks don't have that innately. So it's nice to see him do that and use that to his advantage.
Yeah, I would. That's two things I'd add. He's smaller than Hurts. Heinicke's faster in a straight line. Hurts is more physical, and he's maybe a half an inch taller, but he's probably about 15 pounds on Heinicke. Mm-hmm. So this is a fun matchup. I know Heinicke's beat up physically, and Hurts obviously has come back from his lingering ankle injury. So now the problem that you have for Washington is because if Cosme does not come off the COVID list, they could. I don't know that I think they would start Cornelius Lucas, who did a great job last year. Mm-hmm. When he filled in a tackle, he could play right or left tackle. He's enormous. He's 6'8". Not a great athlete, but he's huge. He's a big dude, and he did a good job last year. Sadiq Charles had to play guard in the last game against the Eagles. he's more of a left tackle that they've played at right and left tackle. And hey, he got thrown at guard because they ran out of players. They didn't really have anyone else. But if Cosby doesn't play, once again, the Eagles get an advantage. And Tyrell Larson, if he plays, you don't know how he'll look. So we'll have to see. In fact, he was on the IR. He might still be on IR because I know he was on COVID plus IR, which is crazy.
Right.
We've seen this happen where some guys, they're training, they get COVID. So anyway, and if not, it's the Ismail kid. And if not, then it's John, not Brett Toth, who's the other center.
The Toth versus Toth matchup. Gotta love that one. If Brett were ever to get in the game at the same time.
Right. So Gibson, we talked about. Jared Patterson would be the next guy up with Jonathan Williams, who's really talented, who out of Arkansas has been a journeyman. But and then we know about McLaurin. Oh, John Bates is the kid who's playing really well. He's a rookie out of Boise who's now a 3-down tight end. Ricky Seals-Jones is their passing down guy.
Right.
But Bates blocks well. He's a big guy, 6'5 plus. Average athleticism. And that's pretty much. I mean, to me, it's like you said, we're interested to see. Okay, Gannon basically he's not aggressive. But the thing about what's been fascinating, in fact, most people listening do not know this. The Eagles over the last 2 months are top 10 in man coverage. They were number 1 in zone coverage for the first half of the season. It tells you how much more he trusts them, at least in coverage.
Absolutely. I have this feeling that Rivera is going to come out and put like 2 tight ends on the field a lot, and then just try to pound the ball at the Eagle. I mean, he likes to run anyway.
Yeah,
but I have a feeling he's going to kind of go extra heavy. It wouldn't surprise. Does he ever? He doesn't have a fullback, right? Does he ever use a fullback?
No. It's no. They when Logan Thomas happened to be healthy, it was Bates was the second tight end, and the international player Reyes or Ricky Seals-Jones would be the other tight end.
Right.
And then unfortunately Logan Thomas wound up tearing his ACL, and Seals-Jones filled in really well. Then he had a hip injury, he missed time. They found something in Bates, but yeah, I could see that. Well, they've made this major commitment to run the football anyway.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they threw an extra line, like an tackle eligible lineman out there in the 13 personnel look.
If they're healthy.
And then just try to ram it down the Eagles' throats the best they can to try to shorten the game a little bit.
Eagles are good against the run. It's surprisingly.
Much better against the run, no doubt about it. All right, let's get into I think that finishes up Washington's offense versus the Eagles' defense. We'll get into the defense versus the offense. First, the NFL season's winding down. The playoffs will be here before you know it. And at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, the offers are getting even more amazing. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win its game. And if that team wins, you win $200 in free bets. Don't miss out on this action. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get NFL action with same-game parlays. You just combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. Who doesn't love the sound of that? DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet just $5 on any NFL team and win $200 in free bets if that team wins. That's promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. And draft in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Well, Adam, we've seen a different Jalen Hurts the last 2 weeks, one that isn't running as much and being asked to throw the ball. I'd say like a tick more, especially in that last game. He was high efficiency with his throws. So I think we completed over 70% of his passes in the last game. Or something
5 drops.
Right? If you count the 5 drops especially, yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous. And by the way, Jason Avant made this really great. Both of them, Avant and Q&A, said, from the beginning of the year till now, and I think this is absolutely true. We've talked about this. Jalen Hurts' ball placement is a lot better. You know, in the beginning of the year, sometimes guys were dropping passes because, you know, on those passes to the flat, they had to turn or they had to reach. These balls have been put in those guys' hands. They're just dropping it. That's not on him. His ball placement from 20 yards in, as Jason Vaughn said, very good. We talked about the Rager path, the crosser to Rager. Against the Giants, put it between two defenders. Absolutely great. The deep ball remains inconsistent. And we had talked about that pass to Quez Watkins, where something, you know, I had said a couple of sources told me that even though it's a 41-yard catch, that it was not actually a very good throw by Jalen Hurts because Watkins was open on the crosser, but then had to take himself into the coverage before leaping to catch the ball. And Jason and Q said the same thing, that should have been a flattened route because the ball was thrown in a trajectory where Quez just keeps running, catches it, and then after he gets the ball, he heads upfield and may have a touchdown there. So a lot, you know, that's what we've seen. This is an area where Jalen still needs work, and that's the deep ball. He'll have some opportunities there. I mean, we just talked about Washington's secondary, so you'd like to see him hit on a few and make the right decisions on those.
Yeah, I'd like to see Watkins. You know, I was mentioned on Monday morning show that Jonathan Vilma did it was the analyst for the last game, said that in their production meeting, Hurts made it pretty clear how much he trusts Quez Watkins. Well, good. You know what? Get that chemistry going. Stretch the field because he's their one true field stretcher other than Rager, who really not a lot. Obviously, he had unfortunate drops against the Giants, but in the first matchup against the Giants. But the fact of the matter is, they've got an opportunity here for some plays. Unless Washington gets some of these guys back, they're going to have opportunities. Oh, one thing I should mention, this tells you how good the Eagles' run defense is. Over the last 2 months, 8th best against opposing running backs. Eagles giving up just over 3.7 yards per carry, which in today's NFL is phenomenal. There are only 10 teams giving up less than 4 yards per carry against opposing running backs. Now, I know some people would argue, and it's mostly true, they haven't faced a who's who of running backs. You know, Barkley's been hurt. He's not the same guy with the ankle injury. They've had some good matchups, but you know what? Hey, improvement is improvement. Against the pass, they've improved greatly, and against the run, where they were terrible to start the season, they're really good right now. And it's just the discipline, and this is what we've learned about evaluating Gannon this season after the horrific first half. Guys are buying in. They've been playing with more energy, less mistakes, better gap control, and it's showing on the field.
Yeah, I think the even stronger argument to add that is when you're really not afraid of the quarterback beating you, which they haven't been because of the quarterbacks they've been playing, easier to kind of shift your focus on the run and stopping the run. I'm still waiting for the team that comes out big to get the Eagles in that 5-1 front. You know, when you have heavy, or even 5-2 when they have Jannard Avery out there, and then try to play action short pass, because Avery is somebody, if they're, you know, that you can exploit in coverage. I mean, if he's going to recognize the pass and be assigned to a guy, he's not a guy who's comfortable moving backwards or has done it a lot, but you just haven't seen too many teams try to take advantage of that yet. So I don't know if Washington's going to be the first team to do it, but maybe next week, Dallas, who knows? But I'm surprised that no one's done that yet. The last thing on the passing game and Hurts I wanted to bring up is that, you know, the whole red zone thing and not hitting Dallas Goedert and going to Quez Watkins on that play is just a fantastic case study on how football is not an exact science. And because there have been, you heard the Eagles and you heard Jalen Hurts give really good explanation for why going to Quez Watkins was the right play there. You know, I talked to Quentin Michael, and he felt that it was the right play for Jalen Hurts, but he should have thrown it a little sooner so that Watkins had a chance to maybe turn upfield and get the touchdown. And then, you know, I've talked to Jason Avant about it. I think they addressed it on Q&A also. And then Emmanuel Acho came out with a video saying how if the Eagles would be right if that was really the coverage that they said was happening, but he broke down how that coverage they said the Giants played was not really the coverage that they thought. And I think what makes it fascinating is I think in this, I've talked to enough people to be like, there's really no right or wrong. It's how experienced are you? How much do you see things and anticipate things when you're only, you know, 21 starts into your career, as opposed to someone who's been doing it 3, 4, or 5 years. So, I mean, that's what Coach Sell said. It's funny how the same play different people can look at and say, no, he did the right thing. No, he did the wrong thing. Or they say, well, he could have done this, but should have done that.
Yeah. And Vaughn and Cosell talked. We actually brought up the play where, 2 games ago, where we basically the people we talked to that they thought he should have gone somewhere else. And Greg said it, a more advanced guy, and Jason chimed in. Later in his career, he may get to his third progression and make the throw, but he's not there yet. Like as Greg said, and I this is really well said by him. He gets the play in the huddle, and he's gonna run that play, and he's gonna look for that first guy. And if he gets off that, it becomes harder. Not that he gets stuck, but he may not know where he's going to go or he runs. So and every once in a while he might go to 2, which we saw in the Bronco game. As I was told, he actually did go to his second option sometimes, but more often than not, he's not, because he's not there yet. And remember, this is his first full year as a starter. You got to be patient. Got to give him time.
That's right. All right, so from a running game standpoint, this is going to be interesting because, as we've talked about, Miles Sanders is out. Jordan Howard has the stinger. There's also a slight sprain going on there. I believe the reporters, I know Geoff McClain said he could see that he's wearing that. You talked about the harness, right? Yeah. That shoulder. He's wearing something on his shoulder to protect him, which
you want to wear that as a stinger. It's just so you that would be if you have a sprain. Yeah, that's
right. Right. But so that kind of, to me, signals a little bit of caution, because again, we talk about taking contact on a shoulder that's already, that you got 2 different things going on there. It's a nerve issue, a stinger, a slight sprain. How much contact can he take before that shoulder might start to get sore or achy and then make ball security an issue, or just the ability to play? That's what we were told earlier of the week is his tolerance and pain threshold were going to be a deciding factor in him playing on Sunday. Obviously, it wasn't going to be cured and healed in 100% by the time this game came along. So we'll have to see what he can handle and what he can take and how effective he can be.
Yeah, and with the stinger thing, Sirianni downplayed it, and then if he's got a sprain in his shoulder, there'll be, because it's the first week back. In 3 weeks, it pretty much goes away. An AC joint sprain. I've covered this injury for 21 years, but more often than not, the player, not always, but he'll be able to play the next week. But it's a pain tolerance. It's discomfort. You just harness it up and got to play through it. It's a pretty tough guy. Yeah. They need him, man. They don't. This is where I think this is a minor complaint. They really should have had a back. And I get it. Howard came off the practice squad. They should have replaced it with another power back. I understand a lot of things would have to happen. No one was counting on Howard potentially not be available. But they really, he gives them such a different dimension which they don't have with the Sanders runs hard. Definitely, he's shown to get the hard yards, but having a back with size is just something different, especially this time of year in late December, and they have a very good chance to be playing in January, late or mid-January, for wild card rounds. So they really could use someone with size, and they don't. Huntley is the only guy that they have right now, other than Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, for being a guy that's very, the guy's a second-round pick. He's not, he's not a big guy, 5'11", 210 plus, but he's also had a lot of injuries. I wish they would have gotten someone who didn't have the injury history that Kerryon Johnson had and would have been here for a couple weeks. But I understand where they're coming from. They can't just bring somebody in off the street who doesn't know this offense. Kerryon Johnson does, because he's with them.
They should have just signed Alfred Morris so that the guy can complete his NFC East sweep and play for every single team in the NFC East, right? And he's a big guy. That would have worked.
Is he retired yet? He was with someone last year, but
he was with somebody last year. I think it was the Seahawks, but other than that, I don't remember. I thought he even may have played this year. Who knows? He may have signed one of those practice squad veteran type contracts. But I am of the opinion that, and we'll see what happens, that the carries early are going to go to Gainwell and Scott. I think Scott and Gainwell are going to carry the
Scott
load.
For sure. Yeah,
Scott definitely, Gainwell, and then we'll see when and if they turn to Jordan Howard. Debate based on how this game is going.
There's no way to know if he's active. There's literally no way to know. I know. By the way, congratulations to people in the fantasy championships. If you're doing it, and I picked up Scott, and obviously we'll see. I don't want to risk for someone not to play, but it wouldn't, if he doesn't play, it would really help Scott. But the question, as you said, with Howard, it's hard to project. He's got to be honest with the training staff, and obviously Jamal Singleton, the running backs coach, and Sirianni, the play caller. and the OC Steichen, because they got a game plan. How much do you think you could play through it? Because you don't take contact in practice, really.
Right.
So you don't know. Pre-game, maybe they could test it and hit him a little bit and see how his whatever shoulder it is. But we'll check into it. This is a big one, obviously, because they're going to need him. And particularly based on the amount of attempts that they run the football each game, number one in not only yardage, but rush attempts. Unbelievable, this Eagles team. Who knew?
Now, the Eagles ran the ball last time they saw Washington, even with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne in there. They ran the ball 41 times for 238 yards, averaging 5.8 yards a clip, which is just astonishing because Washington was like a top 5 run defense. Washington had some stuff going on, though. And now they're a little bit more
They're healthier now.
They were fighting on the sideline last week. But from a health standpoint, a little bit, I'm going to tell you right now, with Miles Sanders out and Howard banged up, and this Washington team probably pretty pissed off from their Dallas loss and their Eagles loss and everything that's going on. Eagles ain't running 41 times for 238 yards against them.
And honestly,
I just don't see it.
With Dallas, I know Dallas won 56-14. It's not like they ran all over Washington. They threw all over them.
That's correct. They threw all over them.
Oh, Prescott, if he would have played a full game, would have had over 500 yards. I'm not joking. I think he had over 300 at the half.
Was he the first quarterback to throw touchdown passes to a running back, a tight end, a wide receiver, and an offensive lineman all in the same game?
Is that right? Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah. Steele caught a turn. Steele, I think, caught a touchdown.
Yep. Zeke caught one. Steele caught one. Schultz caught one. And I think, I forget which wide receiver, Cooper or
and Hank Lawrence had a touchdown.
How about that? So anyway, I just don't see the Eagles having that same kind of rushing. I'm not saying the Eagles aren't going to run the ball well. I just don't think they're going to run the ball that well. That's mind-boggling that they were able to do that. 41, 238 for 5.8. Obviously, Miles Sanders was big on that. He had 131 and a 38-yarder. He's their home run hitter, and they really don't.
That's a big one.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more on Sunday's pregame show because I've compiled a list of all the runs of 20 or more yards that the Eagles have this year. And not surprisingly, Miles Sanders accounts for a large chunk of those, and you'd be surprised on who accounts for number 2 on that list. But you'll have to check the pregame show to check it out. But needless to say, they don't have that home run element, so it's going to be, to me, as we sit here today, it'll be a much different style of running game, and I don't think it's going to be as easy to run as it was the first time around. And that, to me, is going to make this game a different kind of game.
Understand one thing also. Goddard, who went off against them, Cam Curl did not play in that game.
Great point.
So Cosell said he is their tight end guy.
Yep.
So Jamin Davis is also back. He didn't play in the last game against Dallas. So they're as you said, they're not totally healthy now. They have these late COVID pop-ups. We'll have more on this on Sunday, but the corner situation is really good now in terms of the Eagles matchups. And finally, the offensive line, the Washington's healthier than they were 2 weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, 12 days ago. So it's going to be a little bit harder now. I'm interested to see how well the Eagles, as you were saying, how well they run against them. Mm-hmm. But with Kelsey playing incredible football, Dickerson's healthy, Mailata's healthy, Johnson's healthy. Herbie's done a nice job. I mean, they could run on anyone because they have, and they will. And Stoll's back. Stoll's knee injury was not bad. He's a very good wide tight end. Mm-hmm. Their double teams are unbelievable. I would expect them to run well over 100 yards. No one has stopped them. Again, the last game, 130 yards. Remember now, that's without Sanders playing in the second half.
Right.
And Howard not playing barely in the second half. So, they'll run over. They're not going to run over them for 300, but I would expect well into the hundreds.
All right. That is going to wrap up that part of it. We will get to our predictions in a second. First, we want to remind everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you're checking them out at phlsportsnation.com or on Twitter at phlsportsnation. We'll pause real quick now for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you head into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. All right, I'm going to let you start first. Tell me how you think this game's going to go. Well, let me give you the good information that we always
what's the
give
spread?
from DraftKings. First
Yeah,
of
what's
all,
the spread?
well, when I checked earlier in the week, the Eagles were a 4-point favorite, and I want to see if the line has moved at all since then.
I'll tell you, the Sanders injury does
3.5
worry me.
now.
3.5. Yeah,
3.5.
Heineke is a gambler. He right when you look at him, you go, he can't get this done, but he seems to get it done. This game would worry me, and I'm not totally buying that they'll be so fired up because they got embarrassed against Dallas. But as you said many times since we started the show in the spring of 18, something weird happens with these NFC East games. Right when you think there's no way the Eagles wind up losing. The Eagles have strangely been a better road team than a home team. I don't have an explanation for it. I don't think anyone can.
Weird.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know why. They're 5-3 on the road, which is a really good road record.
Mm-hmm.
They have a chance to even it up next week at home to be 4-4. They're 3-4, but I'm going to pick it. Eagles 23, Washington 20. That's my score. 43 points.
23-20 Eagles. Now that would give you a combined score of 43. The over-under number is 44.5. So you would be taking the under.
Correct.
Right? All right. So you said, wait, 23-20? That's what you said?
Yep. 43 points. Yep.
All right. So that would not cover the 3.5 spread, though. All right.
I would stay away. I don't trust the Eagles this way. Without Sanders, I'm telling you, this is a problem.
Yeah. No, I agree with you to the point where I'm actually going to take Washington to win this game. I do think Washington's going to win. I think the Eagles are going to really struggle with their identity on offense. I don't think they're going to score very much. I think the Washington football team will win 23-15. So I see an under, and obviously the Eagles do not cover.
Rare under for Mosher. Wow.
No, this year I've been very consistently on the under. I have been.
Have you?
I've been consistently low scoring this year. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I picked a game to be in the for either team to be in the 30s in since the first 5 or 6 weeks.
The Eagles are 2-2 in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Washington at home. I know they've been dreadful, but let's see. I know that although they beat the Bucs, which is incredible. Washington's 3-4 at home. In division, they're 1-3. So, and obviously, with the Eagles beat them earlier this season. The Washington won in Week 17 last year. And the Eagles lost both last year. Did they lose a week? No, wait, yeah. Washington beat the Eagals last year in Week 1.
I think they played They played Week 1 and then the last week of the season, right? The soft tank game, we like to call that. Now, I'm a little worried about Washington being in soft tank mode themselves because of this whole 2 quarterback thing. I don't know what's going on there. The idea that they might play Kyle Allen or something. So I'm a little worried about my pick, knowing that Ron Rivera has said that, but I'm thinking maybe he was just trying to light a little fire under Taylor Heineke. I'm not sure about that. But either way, Allen's not terrible. He's actually a decent and adequate backup who has played well. So it's not like they're going over to Nate Sudfeld, who hasn't, like knocking the cobwebs off him and saying, hey, get in there, when you haven't played all year.
Oh, so dumb.
So, yeah, that was interesting. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to Hunter Brody, our producer. You can check out his work on YouTube. His channel on YouTube is called Sports Talk with Broads, and he's got a great website, broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.